Hello, everyone. Oh my god, did you guys hear the news? No, not that. The news that magic has been discovered, and it all comes from this magical campaign called Emerge Home. Feel VR with your bare hands. And I'm not their only fan. Even Kickstarter says it's a project they love too. So if you think I'm making this up, watch this.
What does it mean to feel connected? Most of our communication is mediated by screens.
Wait up, I think that's not even close to being true. Most communication still involves no screen. If you include phone calls, then it's by a speaker, which might have been a better example for them to use, but more on that later.
Our eyes and ears are engaged, but a vital part of us stays disconnected. Our sense of touch. We've created the first product that allows you to feel virtual content and human connections with your bare hands.
This is absolutely
Don't worry, if this is your first time in VR, we'll go slow.
Whoa. God, that's pretty wild.
Okay, stop right there. They are doing some very clever editing. We're going to come back to this later, but I think there is a reason why they cut the demonstration video right there.
With the magic of VR and the power of ultrasound, Emerge Home brings touch and emotion to virtual experiences. Feel what we believe to be the next paradigm shift in human interaction.
So, this is the next paradigm shift. Well, that's quite a lofty claim to make. So let's see what kind of high-tech, futuristic, next paradigm games we can expect to play on this breakthrough revolutionary technology. Well, there's this one where you're obviously an indoor bug zapper of some sort. To Catch a Predator, the VR experience. I believe this game must be called Watch Things Happen. And here we have Watch Other People Play. Watch More Things Happen, the sequel. The Ed Wood experience. You know, for such a revolutionary device, these games look like the shit that used to come out on WiiWare. Alright, I'm ready to give up my Oscar-worthy acting performance. It's not magic. It's actually simpler than you imagine. And this is one of the laziest, most dishonest campaigns we've seen in a long time. If you only read their campaign page and saw the pitch video, then you could be forgiven for thinking this is all pure magic. It would just be assumed that you have to change out the tray of blood from a virgin every few cycles. Or if you were to go outside of the campaign and watch this video, which was not made by the project creators, you would understand what's really going on.
You might be thinking, how is that possible? Well, remember that sound is a mechanical wave that creates pressure in the air. When you go to a concert, you feel the music in your chest. Or when you place your hand close to a large speaker, you can feel it move the air. This is a similar concept with the Emerge Wave 1.
It's a speaker, or rather an array of speakers that go off at different times, thereby making different concentrated points of sound that when put together is supposed to feel like an object. So if you've ever been to a water park and passed by that annoying family that brought a DJ booth with them, or been to a car show, or a concert where they had a lot of bass, then congratulations, you've already felt what they're trying to sell you here. So how is it silent? It's because they're using ultrasound. They love using this buzzword, and it's the closest they come in the pitch to actually admitting how they generate this effect.
With the magic of VR and the power of ultrasound.
Ultrasound is a confusing word. For most of us, the only time we ever hear of ultrasound is during a medical examination. Otherwise, it's a totally foreign concept. But the word ultrasound just makes it seem like something serious is going on. If I walked into a bank and said, I have an ultrasound gun in my pocket, give me all your money, they'd probably hand it over. But in reality, ultrasound is just sound beyond our auditory field. That's it. So that's how they generate sound waves you feel but can't hear. Pretty cool, huh? Well, let me tell you what's not so cool. Their technology is completely stolen. They did not develop it. They heavily imply that they did.
Have really developed a product that blends the best of 6 years of intense R&D.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say imply? I mean, they outright claim they invented it.
And we even got a chance to record a full podcast talking about how they invented it.
But he won't tell you this technology first appeared in 2014, 8 years ago, in this report from the University of Bristol. I'm going to link it down below. We'll be coming back to it quite a bit. The report goes over how they pioneered this ultrasound haptics tech. It even talks about the failed ideas people had before, like using air nozzles, and then how they got ultrasound to work in terms that are way beyond my pay grade. I didn't look too far into it, but I think for at least one of these authors, this is research he used for his PhD. And right after publishing this, two of the creators, Long and Carter, formed their own company called Ultra Haptics, sometimes called Ultraleap, to explore the commercial value of this sort of thing. So they are the pioneers of this. Make no mistake, this is their baby. And when you go to their website, after having been on Emerge's pretentious Kickstarter page for so long, it's like a breath of fresh air after being trapped in a car with someone who ripped ass. Look at how easily they explain the technology front and center. Not only do these guys have their own patents with Ultraleap, but when a patent was awarded to the University of Bristol, they were still credited as the inventors. But even after I've said all that, maybe there's some people out there who still don't trust this information. After all, these inventors in Ultraleap aren't mentioned anywhere on Emerge's Kickstarter page. Well then, let's check out Emerge's patents. They have a few. And unlike Kickstarter, where the original creators got no credit, the rules are a little different in the patent world. And so Emerge's patents do cite Ultraleap on every patent they have so far. On this patent alone, Ultraleap is cited 18 times. And there's also this little sensor, which was actually used in those University of Bristol tests that made it into that report. It's just a motion sensor, but Ultraleap bought out that company. So technically they own those patents as well, bringing the total to 41 citations that go back to the people they stole this idea from. Again, that's just in this one patent alone. The citations also refer back to videos which show Ultraleap's technology, and they bear more than a slight similarity to what Emerge is selling now. So yes, they are clearly tracing over Ultraleap's homework. Want to see more proof? Let's look at this 2021 patent from Emerge. It's titled System and Method for Producing Mid-Air Tactile Simulation. Ultraleap has a similar one from 2017 titled Method and Apparatus for Providing Tactile Sensations. And if you don't think the tiles are similar enough, check out the diagrams. It's the same damn thing. Ultraleap just has their PC and driver outside while Emerge is integrated. You might be thinking there is one big difference though. Emerge implemented VR, but that's a funny thing. None of their diagrams show anyone wearing a VR headset. Instead, it says they're going to use a holographic projector. Now wait a sec, hold up. Why don't they just focus on making that damn holographic projector? That would truly be the next paradigm in whatever the hell they're trying to do here. Hell, partner up with that Oton X guy. He's been working on that technology for years.
I can go outside, put the glasses on.
With the air
With the air
hovering?
This is going to hover over me.
Yes.
So I can turn it into the Wild Wild West out there.
Yes, you can turn it into anything that you want.
They told the US Patent Office they're going to use a hologram, so why aren't they doing that? I think we know why they didn't. Because that's something that's really hard to do. That would require a ton of research and development. They would have to come up with something on their own, because I don't think there's an existing product that they can spend 6 years copying for that. Now, believe it or not, we have not even touched the shadiest thing about this whole campaign: their finances. They almost failed on Kickstarter, barely clearing a very modest $200,000 goal. I was keeping an eye on this campaign back when it was live, and at that time, it was predicted to fail. They just weren't bringing in enough money. Let's look at those figures a little more in depth. Like most campaigns, they started off strong, raising $24,000 on the first day from 60 backers. That's an average of $400 from every backer, and that lines up with what they're selling this device for. They raised less than half of that the next day, and then it slowed down to a drip about a week later. This is normal for Kickstarter. Campaigns usually follow a U-shaped curve. You get a lot of backers eager to jump in early at first, then progress slows down in the middle. Then it picks back up at the end, as some people who were on the fence jump in before it's over. But this campaign had a really bad middle period. There were some days when they had no backers and some where they actually lost money. And again, this all tracks with the reward tiers. They lose one backer, they lost about $400. They gain 3 backers, they get 3 times that. On March 26, with just 2 weeks left to go on a 60-day campaign, they had only raised a third of their goal and just 166 backers. But someone must have wished upon a star that night, because the day after, on March 27th, a flood of money came in. Maybe it was magic. $21,000. That's almost as good as the first day. But there's a catch. That came from 5 backers. We don't know what tiers they picked, but that's an average of over $4,000 per backer that day. From here on out, the money doesn't track anymore. It gets wacky. These new backers are not people like you or me who just want to get the device. These are people throwing money at a failing campaign. They must be picking developer tiers where they get multiple units for early delivery. The highest tier on the campaign page is for $10,000, and they sold 9 of them. Remember, their goal was for $200,000. So think about that. 45% of their goal came from $10,000 pledges. And does any of that make sense to you? Put yourself in the shoes of a developer. There's this new device that no one has, and that you need to buy a Quest 2 in order to use. They try to sell it online, and only 166 people bought it so far. Does it make any sense to then say, I should invest $10,000 into this? Even if that developer made a $60 game and all 166 backers bought it, you still wouldn't break even. It doesn't make sense that developers would jump on board at this point when the campaign is clearly struggling. So why was there a rush to make this campaign a success at the end? Well, if you ask me, I think the answer is on the campaign page. Emerge has raised $32 million to date. This campaign was too big to fail. What were they going to tell the investors they collected $32 million from if their $200,000 public campaign failed? The answer is you don't. I suspect they pumped up the campaign with their own money to make sure it succeeds. And to the viewers, let me give you some advice. That U-shaped funding curve I talked about, that's normal. That's how good campaigns work. If you see something else, then stay away. Because 9 times out of 10, they're playing with the numbers and it ends in disaster. I might make a video in the future where I show you other campaigns that had similar last-minute funding miracles, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, this is all speculation with the information I have in front of me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a group of developers out there who hate their own money so much, they all decided to dive into this project. But to whoever's leading this project, if you did mess with the numbers, you have nothing to be proud of. There is no glory in pulling strings to fake your own success. Kickstarter exists to see if an idea like this has enough interest and can raise enough money to make it happen. If you have to fake it to ensure success, then you are lying to yourself and to your backers. So if all the magical stuff didn't already raise a red flag, you can see why I don't trust these guys. They're keeping their campaign intentionally vague. It's one of the most frustrating things about it.
Emerge Home is the first step in a larger journey to create a new language of touch in the metaverse.
They contradict themselves all the time because they say they want to recreate virtual objects in the metaverse, which could be anything from an emoji to a car. Anything can exist in a virtual world. So does that include objects that exist in our world?
Emerge isn't attempting to recreate real-life textures or solid materials.
Alright, see? So they're not trying to recreate real textures or materials.
1 minute later.
So, in this game where you shoot water to clean pigs, it actually feels like there's cold water coming out of the bottom of your hand.
So what the fuck is it then? Are you trying to recreate real objects or not? Because last time I checked, water is a real thing. It's obvious that they can't replicate a physical object like a hammer or something. These are sound waves, I get that. But I think I know why they focus so much on water. It's because with this technology, that might be the only material they can convincingly replicate. Let's go back to the University of Bristol report. In order to demonstrate this technology, they devised a way to see it in action. They did this by aiming their ultrasound speakers at a big layer of oil on glass. And now you could see what it looks like, but you might notice something odd. The effect isn't steady, it shakes the whole time, and it ripples like water. This is because sound travels as a wave. That's what hertz means, it's how many waves per second. So by design, the ultrasound effects generated will always have this fuzzy ripple around them, which is terrible for mimicking most physical objects, but great for water, and that's why they love showing that off. And there's other limitations as well. Let's go back to that pitch video. Remember how this guy moves his hand and they abruptly cut the video? Here's what I think happened. First, you have to understand how this system works. The device projects the ultrasound waves upward. It's like the thing is building sandcastles. So you interact with objects best from the top down. So I think this guy they had testing the device put his hand to the side, realized his mistake, and quickly tried to correct it. But that correction doesn't look good on camera, so I believe they cut away. Like I said, it's like playing with a sandcastle, and I think they know this too. Because on their YouTube channel, I found a video titled What It Feels Like, and they show what looks like a sandcastle. There is no link to this video on their campaign page, because that's not impressive. So they'd rather have you believe you can shake someone's hand like you could in real life. I think this also influences their games. There's that game where you shoot balls and you can see that you control this big arcade stick from the top down. And of course there's that pig washing game, the fly zapper game, and all those where you control with your palm down. To explain it another way, they cannot make a little helicopter land in the palm of your hand. It doesn't work like that. There's one more limitation in the system that I believe was revealed by mistake. You'll notice that in almost all of the demonstration videos, it's a very controlled environment. The recording quality is usually terrible or it's at an expo or something. These guys can make great videos, so what gives? Well, they lent their product to Adam Savage's Tested, and that might be the only time it's been demonstrated outside of an environment they had full control over. And so in that video, they revealed something so off the cuff that I truly don't think they realize that Emerge has been trying to keep this fact from emerging, shall we say. Check out what they said about it.
And you could see the density or the kind of the resolution of
Nah, I'm kidding. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Here's what they said.
There's also a noticeable audio hum when it activated. So the speakers weren't always activated, but when they did, you could hear almost a little buzzing, which is a byproduct of, again, these also being speakers, which was noticeable and something that the users will have to get accustomed to.
Excuse me? A hum? It emits a hum? So this damn thing isn't even ultrasonic. You can hear it. Let me tell you, I have read their entire campaign page, read every update, every FAQ, watched every video they put out, and I can guarantee you, nowhere have they ever said that this device produces an audible hum that you're going to have to get used to. And please, Emerge, please don't respond to this by saying, well, we never said it would be silent, not even once. That's bullshit. This is the worst revelation because it shows that you can't trust this company. Call me nuts for believing this, but I really do think that the connection between a crowdfunding creator and their backers is a sacred one. I really do think that. I feel that creators who go to crowdfunding need to be even more honest and upfront than traditional businesses. And that includes where the funding came from. That level of trust needs to remain very high, and scummy behavior completely destroys it. But if there's one thing I can tell backers to give them a little bit of confidence, it's that this product is a real thing. A noisy thing, but it's real. It's real in the sense that it turns on and it does something. I mean, it better. Investors already burned $32 million on it, and they've already started shipping. From what I can tell, they haven't shipped all of them, but they are going out. So it's not awful in the sense that you'll never see it delivered. It's awful because it'll never deliver what you saw in the pitch video. Let's go back to that. Remember when they said this?
Feel what we believe to be the next paradigm shift in human interaction.
Is it the next paradigm shift? No, and here's why. Let's compare it to another area that has truly had a lot of paradigm shifts, the film industry. The introduction of sound and color were both huge changes that affected everything after it. But you know what wasn't? The Tingler. The Tingler is a movie from 1959 created by William Castle. It's about a creature that connects to your spine and feeds off your fear, but gets repulsed by your screams. Castle was the king of gimmicks, and so he converted some surplus World War II aircraft parts, turning them into vibration motors that he installed into some of the audience seats. At certain parts, the movie will break the fourth wall and tell the audience the Tingler is loose in the theater, and if he attacks your spine, you better scream. The seats vibrate and the audience screams. Emerge Home is essentially the same gimmick. You give the user a screen which blinds them to the outside world, you tickle their senses and tell them it's water, or a laser, or the Force, or a heart, or a 1950s monster. But that's not a paradigm shift. The Tingler was like a carnival trick. You know you're being tricked, but you're excited by the unfamiliarity of it. The House of Mirrors is fun, but would you install it in your own house? When movies incorporated sound, it was exciting because now you could hear the actor's voice. Just like in everyday life, it made movies more real. When they moved to color, now you could see movies the way your eyes see the world. It's hard to imagine watching a movie today without either of those. That is a paradigm shift. But I am sure I can enjoy a movie without the back of my seat vibrating. At its best, Emerge Home is an expensive parlor trick. At its worst, it's the new Tingler. Now some of you may be asking, well, they're delivering the units, aren't they? The backers are getting what they paid for, so why should any of this matter? What are you bitching about? And to that, I ask you this, where does that leave the backers now? They are each out at least $800 for what they were told could be the next paradigm in human interaction. Only it clearly wasn't, and the funding total was showing that. So the campaign fudged the numbers to make it look like it was something people wanted. The backers were sold on this idea having some traction, and that was a lie. How else could it achieve its goal instead of fizzling out before those mysterious developers showed up? And let's ask that question. A question that all backers need to be asking right now. Who are those 9 developers who each dropped $10,000 on this campaign? You get 4 devices in that tier, but at that price, it's more than 5 times what they usually go for. You are paying for the perks. They even named this tier the Professional. The second highest price tier also gets you 4 devices, but it only costs $1,400. The $10,000 one is clearly a developer-specific tier. So how come we don't know the names of their studios? What upcoming games and apps should the backers be looking forward to? Shouldn't Emerge be proud that they secured 9 new developers during their public campaign? Don't you think those developers want some publicity for what they're working on? I've met a lot of developers because of this channel, and let me tell you, I haven't met a single one that didn't want to bring attention to themselves. You guys know what I think. I think those developers simply don't exist, which means the backers won't be getting much more than what's available right now. And even worse, this device is going to be e-waste once they turn off the servers, because clearly no one else wants to develop for it. I know it's easy for me to say that now, because now we know that Meta is swirling the bowl. And that's the big elephant in the room here. The failure of Meta affects the future usability of Emerge's product as well. Mark Zuckerberg similarly tried to force the public to fall in love with Meta, and found out the hard way that nobody wanted that either. Let that be a good business lesson to everyone. If you have to force your customer to like your product, then you probably have a terrible product. But here's the thing you should remember. Emerge's campaign ended in April of last year. Meta didn't really collapse until just a few months ago. So if they had just run an honest campaign, Emerge might have known that this whole Meta idea was going to fail 8 months before the rest of the world found out. There's just not enough public interest for it to succeed. Now stay with me here. Let's imagine an alternate timeline. Let's pretend that those 9 backers never showed up. Emerge's campaign fails to meet its goal, the backers never got charged, and Emerge gets no money from Kickstarter. But that doesn't mean this is the end. Many companies retool their product and then return to Kickstarter and succeed. Why couldn't Emerge do it? They've been telling us this whole time that they're so innovative, they're so original and visionary. But I think I've shown you how that was a lot of bullshit. It's actually weird to witness a company that has no original ideas. And the fact that they went to Kickstarter, they clearly saw that their pitch wasn't working, and yet somehow decided to double down instead of changing course. That just might be the evidence that they are truly intellectually bankrupt. Without someone else's idea to copy, these guys are totally lost. And not only that, but taking 6 years to copy someone else's research? You guys are fucking useless. But Emerge, I have some good news for you. Today is your lucky day. I'm gonna do all the innovative thinking for you, because I just so happen to be the reincarnation of William Castle, and I think I know exactly how to get your money back. Here's what you do. Stop saying you're gonna reinvent language and create a new paradigm in communication. You know that's all horseshit. Scale it back. All you're trying to do here is increase dopamine levels in your customers and move units out the door. And if you knew anything about VR, which I don't think you do, but if you did, you'd know that there's something else people use VR for, and I'm trying to come up with the most PG-13 way to explain it to you. Okay, let me put it this way. Women love guys on motorcycles, and it has nothing to do with the guy. And there's another device that also produces an audible hum, but that doesn't seem to get in the way of selling millions of those every year. Hell, I bet some ladies in that theater were hoping the Tingler would pay a visit to their seat, if you know what I mean. And don't pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about. I've seen you sanitizing your YouTube comments. Stop it with that. You're not Disney. If you go anywhere else online, you will see that everyone wants to bone this thing. So do that. Give the people what they want. Do you remember back when everyone was going crazy about that Tupac hologram? Imagine the headlines if you said you created a magical device that lets you be intimate with him. Tell the world you have a machine that lets you get it on with a ghost. It allows you to score with all kinds of dead celebrities from any era. You can make your own Monrobot. And why stop there? Hump Helen of Troy. Get freaky with Nefertiti. Download Cleopatra and wank like an Egyptian. Join the Mile High Club with Amelia Earhart. Play with Catwoman's pussy. Whoa, wait up. She's still alive? You know what? Keep her on my list. I bet you there's still some air in those tires. What I'm trying to tell you is that the possibilities are endless. If you understood the VR market and had any creativity at all, you would have realized this long ago. So take your speaker box, sit on it, run some of your programs, and I bet you could get some people interested in this thing. And if you let one of your investors sit on it, they'll probably tell you it feels like what giving you 32 million felt like. And that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.